Country Mag?
New York City Sun, which she saw about knitting in blue jeans and sweatshirt. I loved it.
You should give him your pencil holder for everything.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, see how he holds his pen?
Why are you guys all doing it wrong?
Give him your green puppy, yeah.
I think you do all right.
Oh, my gosh.
Why would you spend any time there? You
Wait,
have to-
show me again.
3 or 4 times you
It
gotta
used to
go
be
there.
less
You're
serious,
gonna hate
like, met
Yeah.
Sister Mary Benedicta in fourth
Well,
grade.
Jeff Callahan will say it.
Yeah, I had a teacher like that, too.
He says you go there,
Grab it out of my left
you
hand,
get
stuff,
abused by
slam it in the right.
Democrats.
Really?
And I would just put it back. She wrote a note to my mother. My mother went in. Her brother's left-handed, too.
We'll start as soon as Ryan wanders back in.
Yeah, going to, is somebody else? Is there stuff there for somebody else besides Lou?
1, 2, 3, 4.
No, just Lou.
Just have
If he doesn't show up, see how that stuff, one of those stickers on him?
Yep.
There's this fake record.
Okay, one of them.
Lou, I guess.
Well, who's supposed to sign them? I surgery.
Is he coming?
No.
From way back when.
Okay.
He's called up.
He is.
Surgery's on call.
Surgery.
He's doing the
He
surgery.
had surgery, but it was
So-
him doing it.
I can't have the new guy sign it.
I don't think they call that having surgery.
Dan Mann,
Giving surgery.
he wants to know where he
Doing
was.
surgery. I mean,
Performing.
exactly.
Like a
Like-
ballerina. We are at the doctor.
Oh, that's right.
Practice.
No, you
That's
can.
right.
Maybe-
Some days will get right.
As long as the rest of the board approves.
Maybe it'll be good training.
You have a counterpart and a
Where is he?
supervisor.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Candy Hicks.
Oh, yeah.
But we've got, she's not running again. And we've got 2 former supervisors vying for it.
Get it.
A guy by the name of
One from Geneva.
Greg Bedzowitz, who represented City of Geneva, one of the wards, I'm not sure which one. And then John Cowley.
Oh,
He's
was-
might across the street from me.
Much does he turn on?
Where do you live? You lived on?
County Road 30.
No, the volume thing is on the other
John
side.
Cowley.
Yeah, yeah,
Elizabeth,
So you
yeah.
would have
right
known
across
on the
the street.
left-handed?
And he,
it all the way up.
had the job for a couple of years.
Huh?
I
He
do a lot
was
of
like, he was a road guy for Neil Sedaka.
Yeah.
Hard.
And,
Yep.
What's right like that?
doesn't look like Neil's performing anymore, so we.
Yeah.
He came back.
Interesting. I saw you.
Changing my,
Well, you remember Don Einstein? You're gonna go around like that. Einstein refused to believe that John Cowley worked for. Do you want a bubble?
He was actually the one that got sick of college.
Yeah, and,
looks like this.
he ended up sending Don Einstein, who was
Well, I guess if you got like this little part of your
photograph,
finger
Neil,
worn out.
John Cowley, and Einstein's son at a
Well, you
concert.
never know what's
Oh,
thumb.
no, it's
Here's
different.
the thumb.
Yeah, because he doesn't know.
What you talking about?
Yeah, hard now.
Was he social studies or something? He was a good egg. I liked that.
Yeah, he was.
I remember walking through the jail with him. And all these guys, Mr. Nine, Mr. Nine.
Well, I guess we can go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna call the Ontario County Industrial Development Agency meeting to order. And we'll jump right into new business. And Sarah, Sue, take us away.
Yeah, Geneva, CSG 1 and CSG 2 are 2 separate projects being built side by side as a community solar project in the town of Geneva. They are being built on a former orchard of Red Jacket orchards. They don't use this one anymore because they've gone to the smaller trees that machines can pick, the apples. They're gonna be a 5-megawatt community solar, on 26.6 acres for CSG 1. It meets our, strategic plan. It goes lease back, and the total cost is $8.3 million. There are no jobs. As far as economic impact, it's an adaptive reuse, a community development project. For our UTEP, it does fit our UTEP as a unique economic impact upon locality. It's a deviation from our UTEP because it is for a 15-year pilot, and we did do the proper notice for it being a deviation. It meets our strategic plan, strengthening existing industries and infrastructure. We did hold a public hearing for both projects. No one commented, no one came to either public hearing. And Michael Indolo is going to take us through the cost-benefit analysis.
All right, great. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, great. So, as you guys have seen in the past several times, we do the state mandated cost benefit analysis. You've seen a number of these for solar. There's a few things to point out, if I could, on the analysis that is maybe a little bit different because it's solar than in other cost benefits that you've seen. The first one that is a little bit, it looks a little odd. If you're looking at page 2 of the executive summary, you'll notice that the summary of economic impact shows $155,000 of construction wages. Now, that is because we are looking at construction earnings, really should say. We're looking at what materials and what labor is going to be sourced locally. And if you look in the footnote to that, you can see that we actually have 2 regions. We have a labor region and a materials region. But what we did is we asked the applicant to let us know how much of their overall budget is going to be sourced within those 2 regions, right? So if you look on page 8 of the report, you'll notice the construction spending in region is $400,000 of labor and materials. Obviously, the project is vastly more than $400,000, but this is the amount that would be sourced locally. I think that is primarily because many of the components that are required for a solar array are not produced locally. The solar panels themselves, the inverters, the control systems, and so on like that. And then it does require some specialized labor. So that is why, in terms of construction, we have very low construction numbers, which you're not used to seeing. So that's one thing. And then if you go to the fiscal summary on page 3, you can see the fiscal benefits. And the first table on page 3, a very modest amount of sales tax and pilot revenue totaling $432,000. So that is revenue. That's all new revenue, which means to say the landowner will continue to pay the taxes on the land, and the solar operator will be paying $432,000 of pilot payments over the period of the pilot. The second table is the exemptions. You can see the sales tax exemption is $369,000, about $370,000. And the value of the property tax abatement, and that is, if you recall, the property tax abatement is the difference between what they are paying, which is $432,000, and what they would otherwise pay absent this pilot, and the difference is $242,000. Okay, so we're looking at roughly $600,000 of exemption to induce this project. The IDA in previous deals has agreed to a $5,000 per megawatt pilot payment, escalating at 2% per year. That's what's being contemplated for these two projects. Therefore, our test of reasonableness holds from the previous projects. We feel that that's a reasonable ask of the developer. And that's my report. I'm happy to go into more details, but in sum, that's the findings of our analysis.
Just real quickly, you said $400,000 in construction, and you were talking about materials and everything at the same time. Does that mean it's $400,000 overall, manpower and everything that would be spent in this area?
Yes, we
Is that what
asked for, that's correct, yes.
So my next question is, I'll have to probably ask Mr. Walsh, why so low? We have a agreement that, well, we don't have an agreement, you have to use local labor on construction projects in order to have IDA assistance.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I will say this is the first I'm seeing this report, so I'll try my best to answer that. I'm not sure the details that went into Michael's analysis, but what we do as a solar developer is typically when we're building these projects, we like to source materials and services locally, assuming we can get those at a cost comparable rate. Some of the services that we would usually be able to source locally are things surrounding landscaping, some of the visual screening, landscaping, fencing, civil services, gravel, concrete, things like that. Rentals for the site, things like porta-johns and dumpsters and other equipment that can be sourced locally. And then, to Michael's point, some of the labor is specialized, but if we can get electricians and folks to do some of the mechanical work locally that have that kind of skill and experience, those are things we source as well. Again, I did not participate in computing these numbers, so I can't speak to the details behind them, but that's sort of an initial list or an indicative list of the services that we would look for locally. But yeah, to Michael's point, some of the things, the larger cost items within the overall cost of the project are, solar modules, racking material, things like that we just can't get locally.
That's usually bought well in advance. I understand that.
Yep.
But I guess I'll cut right to the chase. Do you plan on hiring local contractors to do this work?
Yes, I've spoken to our operations team, and the way that we structure it is we hire a third-party engineering, procurement, and construction unit, an EPC. And yes, they, in speaking with those groups, they do look to hire locally. Again, if the requisite skills are available, and there is a cost comparison, then yes, we do.
I'm sorry, what'd you ask?
Like to verify it, like do we see any of that on the back end to know
We
what
actually
actually went into?
We actually have an outfit that goes and checks job sites and verifies that they're local people on the job. So the reason why I'm asking it, Nick, well, for a couple of reasons. One, we do send people out to check to make sure there's local labor on the job site. And
Of course.
two, I represent all the electrician in the area, so.
Okay, great.
So what we have, what we don't, so.
Yeah, we'd be happy to, connect through you, put you in touch with our EPCs to help guide some of that if you thought that would be.
You don't have to connect through me, I just gotta make sure that there's local people there, that's all.
Okay.
So the total number of jobs is 3?
No,
That's just after
that's the
manufacturing.
construction jobs.
Wait a minute,
Would it
I
be-
forget,
I think
different,
Nick is saying it's gonna be higher than that.
There's a lot more construction jobs in there.
Yeah, for construction, there would be no permanent jobs once the systems are built. There, doesn't require manpower other than, there would be, we would likely hire local firms to run some of the O&M, the mowing and things like that. But there would be no permanent full-time on-site jobs available.
I long for the good old days when we used to find people who wanted to hire 30, 40 people.
So, are there any questions?
Yeah, one more, I'll ask you. Community solar, how do we know that? How do we know that that's,
Probably should ask them that one. I can tell you anything there is to know about building it,
It's based on the number of megawatts produced.
but
it's based on the number of megawatts produced?
Not where they go. It's just a community's just in the size of the.
Has to be under 5 megawatts.
And
So,
It-
but the
doesn't
term
it have to
community
be
doesn't
named?
have anything to do with the fact of where the material, or where the energy is going.
Nick, doesn't it have to be made available to? the
Yeah,
local area?
so the difference, if I'm understanding the question, how do we know it's community solar versus some type of utility scale solar project? One of the main differentiators is that these connect to the distribution system or to the utility at the distribution level rather than transmission level. And that's one of the reasons they're smaller projects, so they can connect at that level. We also, these projects then are subscribed by local residents, offering a discount on their bill. Typically, that discounts 10 to 20% from what the typical rate would be from your utility. And that's something that kind of happens down the road as we start to get under construction. We will have subscription initiatives.
I guess my question is still goes back to Mike, is that if they were gonna use local construction, why is that number $400,000 so low?
So yes, thank you for the question. As part of our due diligence, on behalf of the IDA, we do reach out to the applicant and we ask some very specific questions. And that was one of the questions we asked. This is a email dated July 10th, and we asked for the dollar amount that they intended to expend on local materials and labor, and we defined local as being Ontario County and the contiguous counties, just to simplify it. Obviously, it's a little bit different in your policies, and that was the response that we got back, was that between $250,000 and $400,000 per site would be spent on local materials and labor. And that is, if you compare that to the total project cost, which is, I believe, 8.3 million, if my memory serves me right. So it's,
Yeah.
so thank you, Sue. So it is, the best information we had at that moment was that only about 5% of the total spend on the project would be spent locally. And that's why the job number is so low in the report, because obviously you as the IDA are concerned about local jobs. And we have to report, we want to report the number that's important to you, which is the local job. If all of the materials and all of the labor were sourced locally, of course, that number would be much higher. But this is the information we had at the time when we prepared the application, prepared the cost benefit. Now, I neglected to mention when I talked about this earlier, is that the IDA has a policy that requires a percentage of materials and labor to be sourced locally, because was the response, our analysis assumed that the applicant would apply for and would be granted a waiver of that requirement. Now, that's entirely up to you, but just in order to complete the analysis, we had to make that assumption. Otherwise, our analysis wouldn't make any sense, right? So that is something the applicant will have to, will have to seek if this is the assumption about local labor and materials. And
I
it's on
guess the next,
that's captured in a footnote to page 8, where we explain that a waiver would be required in order for this to be the local spend.
It's like there's gotta be more than 4.7% that they could get locally.
To answer the next logical question, no, there was no application for a waiver.
all right, so you haven't applied for a waiver, so you, Nick, you plan on using local people. I guess that we're trying to nail right down to that, because that's the only benefit we get out of it.
Right.
And there's no reason for us to do it if you're not using local people. If you're gonna ask for a waiver, we might as well can it now.
Yeah, and happy to work through this with you. And the intent is to hire and source locally, wherever we can. I believe the percentage that Michael's referring to is relatively high number. I can't recall off the top of my head if it's 60, 70%, something like that.
The IDA's policy,
Yes.
I believe it's 80%, right? Is that
80%,
correct, Sue?
okay.
80%,
Yeah.
yes.
80%. So I think, yes, the intent probably is to apply for a waiver, thinking that we might not be able to hit the 80% number. But, the objective would be to get as close to that as possible locally.
Where did the 400,000 come from?
From Nick Welsh to Michael Indolo, or from somebody at,
Just seems like that's
Yes.
where the discrepancy is. That's a pretty big difference from
Yeah, well,
80%
yeah, it
to
is
less than
big.
5%.
This is a good chunk of construction, 50% of it is your labor. And something worth 8.3 million, you're looking at about 4 million in labor, not 400,000.
Is that a number that they should revisit?
Yeah, I think we
Like,
should,
it seems so far off from what we're
I
talking
think we
about,
should
like
get
it's not a
table and come
realistic.
back with better information.
I would agree with that. Put that in form of a motion.
Yeah, I would move.
Yeah,
that we
I'm not
table
sure if
this.
we were aligned on exactly what the ask was there, because I would agree with you, that number seems lower based on the total labor requirements. So I would tend to agree with you. And that may have been a miscommunication along the way.
I would like to entertain a motion that we table this, discussion
I have
until
a
we receive further information.
motion to table from Dan until we get further information, seconded by Andy. Any further discussion? All those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried.
Should I point out that applies to both CSG 1 and 2?
yes.
That applies to both, and we don't have a problem, we'd be more than happy to revisit it.
Just have him amend and make sure that Andy's okay with that.
You okay with the second amendment?
Yes.
All right, so I have it for both projects. Vote again. All those, is
just
there any
a-
discussion on it? Table in the motion.
Aye.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
So Michael, your job's not done yet.
Sure, I understand. I'm happy to work with whatever number is appropriate. And we can revise our analysis, we can resubmit it. And if that number changes, that's great. The only thing I would just ask on, I mean, just for clarification for Nick, in terms of the timing, if Nick does ask for a waiver, does that come as part of the application for your consideration, or does the waiver come after?
It should come with the application.
Application.
It should come with the application. Okay.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that Nick is aware of that so that, whatever, if you end up needing a waiver, that the board knows what the waiver request is. I feel like that's
Mhm.
important for the board to know.
Yeah, thank you for that
Michael-
clarification.
What I'm hearing from the board too, Michael, is that we would want to know exactly what you said, that we want to be a little specific with the waiver. So if it's,
Yes.
the requirement is X and we can do Y, then we want to know what the difference is.
And there's specific reasons that we can grant a waiver.
And you're right, so, and the reasons why, yes.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Just out of curiosity, Mike, this is not the first solar project we've done in the county, and finding local labor has never been.
It hasn't been. We had one that went just below it,
Just below.
and we approved it. They came in at like 78 or 77%.
The solar field, Belton Clifton, they called and talked to me about it and asked, they had a special type of racking and they asked for a waiver on that, which it was kind of a special type of
That
racking.
was materials, right, but labor, we should have been.
No, it was a racking, for installing the racking, because they were a little different type of rack.
But even with that waiver, they still were in that 75 to 77% local.
Okay.
And that report just wrapped up last month.
All right, so we'll look forward to seeing the revised cost benefit analysis. Any other
Very well.
questions? No other questions, we'll move on. Go to the administrative portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so meeting minutes.
I'll move.
I have a motion from Andy, to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Seconded by Andy, seconded by Dan.
a one-man wrecking.
Seconded motion, we're getting closer.
Aye.
Any discussion on the minutes?
I had to jump in, please.
The tabling thing threw me off. I remembered how to do it, but I was trying to figure it out in my head as I was looking at it. Tell me that I am. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. On to invoices for payment. Mike?
Bob, I hit the airport and then I'll.
Okay, Mike and Bob.
I guess the only two worth noting in there are, the last line is for the apron project, they've done some geotech survey, a little bit of work, so we had a little kickoff meeting on that. That is a reimbursable 95%, for the $16,200. And, up a couple from there is the AWAS maintenance agreement, for $1,400. That's, the inspection that's done annually, by our contractor. It's worth noting that that's probably gonna go up significantly, next year, because of the services that have changed, but, and, that's actually a pretty good price for what they do. I don't see anything of regular, utilities, contractual payments. Trailer invoice, that just makes you think that we got one more of those, the trailer's gone, so. We'll see one next month, it'll be final.
Okay, for the agency, we got the July master, that's our monthly payment. The MRB group has worked to date on the two projects, that's 1 and 2. Jim Armstrong is their second invoice for the contract, and that's to, I can remind you, that's the updating of the stock, the available stock in the county, building stock.
Property.
Yeah, so, let's see what we got here. Ms. Larson is breaking the bank with her mileage request of $19.65. Let's see. Okay, so the credit card, we talked about QuickBooks last time. As you can see, we're gonna do 40% from the EDC, 40% for the IDA. And then we're gonna go ahead and put 20% of the LDC. They now have a couple $100,000 sitting in there. Really not getting spent too much, so we'll tap that for a few bucks. And then finally, just the 2 low-key bill invoices.
And Loki Brill is the, firm that checks the local labor.
All right. Motion to pay the bills.
I'll make that
I
motion.
have a motion from Dan,
Second.
seconded by Amanda. I'm still Andy, we'll get there.
Sorry. Yeah, Andy.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. And Mr. Minister, you have any reports? Any, you guys have any questions for Bob's airport report? Not, I'll take a motion to accept his report.
Motion.
I have a motion from Amanda, move from Amanda. I'll second that. Seconded by Andy. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. Task order number 7. What one's that, Bob?
Order number 7 is from the Carlin Johnson to perform the design and engineering work for the new weather station that we have planned for construction next year. This is pretty much it, survey work, design, little wetland work, new roadway, new instrumentation. It's 22 years old. Everything's pretty much obsolete. We do have some sources, but they're not going to be around for long for parts. But so it's good timing. It's the project is for this request is for $57,027. That is 95% reimbursable by the FAA. And the entire project probably will be we're estimating $500,000 for construction next year.
All right. A motion for task order 7.
I'll move it.
Motion from Dan,
Second.
seconded by Amanda. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing, any opposed? Hearing none, carried. Financial statements, I'm assuming that's got to be you, Mike.
Yeah, that's July 31st of,
Hold on 1 second. Bob, did you need,
Yeah, one other request.
Okay.
Been working over the years trying to get the internet speed up there. We're on DSL, which is,
DSL.
yeah. Well, it's more like dial-up. You almost hear the tones, but, you know, we get something like 5 megabytes of the download. It's awful. Anyway, we've just recently seen last year, so fiber providers coming in. GoNet speed has now kind of encompassed the entire airport except for this building. Now with the FBO over there, it's even more desirable. So they presented a package plan to us for the one phone line plus 300 times the speed, 300 megabytes or gig, 300, I don't know what it is. This is outrageous.
faster.
Yeah.
Faster than the pigeon?
Yeah. So at a savings of $65 a month. So our bill is $276 for.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Does it need a motion?
So they're all.
I'll make a motion, we accept the,
There'll be, there's probably about $1,000 or less in installation costs. We offered to help out and bury some of the line. So there's that.
Yeah, probably makes sense. You would not to exceed a couple grand to do that? You think that that's covered?
That would more than cover it. I've got another small ask too, because since we're talking, moving, we need a little bit of adjustment in our parking. We don't need so much material, but, some machine work, we can do locally, with our local workforce. So maybe another, $2,000, I would think, in, cost to readjust, identify some of the parking, some signage, all towards the whole. It's kind of been a big disruption moving the trailer, so we're now operating on 2 ends of the airport at once. And so parking is one of the issues, and then signage is a big one too. So the most of this is going on to the FBO. They're putting up for a lot of the signage, but there's some airport signage, and we may have to identify some airside signage as well that identifies where the FBO is and where there's parking, as opposed to going down to the other end where we don't want to send anybody. So it'll be something I'll have to get quoted out, be probably a couple $1,000s for that. But we may, and I'm just talking about a couple of incidental costs, so not to exceed $2,000 just for just for making parkings and identifying and some signage. We're having problems with people driving through and driving out from the Thomas Road entry and driving out onto the roadway. And Google Maps has identified Flightline Drive as connecting right from Thomas Road, going down a taxiway and into Mercy Flight. So Mercy Flight's calling me all the time. A lot of people are going into Mercy
I just
Flight.
want clarification. You said it's 2,000 for the extra and the 1,000, so you want 3,000 total or 2,000 total? That was the only question I had.
Three total.
Okay.
So that'll cover the fiber installation and for a little parking and signage to move FBO services from one end of the airport to the other.
Conversation started with the internet, and the next thing you know, we're talking about parking, so I was totally confused.
So we've,
$3,000.
yep, and losing the
Roll.
trailer, we had to move to the other end of the airport, and somebody has to park somewhere. So
And this is relatively permanent signage. This is not some temporary, this is,
Yeah, some of it, it's,
yeah, as I said,
temporary.
relatively.
so I don't think we're gonna
So
see a lot of
temporary?
expenses in signage for right now, but we're looking at permanent signage that would come from the air side, and that has to be provided by, authorized sign, manufacturer for the air side, and needs special mounting, needs to be on breakaway couplings and so on. And I'll have to work with the town as far as, redirection signs. So that's one of the things we need to redirect people from driving in the other end to driving in to this end, the new end of the airport. It's a great deal of confusion going on right now, so.
So,
Amen.
Even you.
I'm confused.
so
We're now operating about a quarter mile from where we were,
so the new entry is now off of Thomas
off of
Road,
Thomas Road.
and the Brickyard Road is simply for,
Simply for tenants, T-hanger tenants and maintenance tenants.
wow.
Bob, I was just asking if this is temporary signage until moves are completed or something, or is this something you expect to be there for 5 years?
Signs,
Yes.
the
The $2,000 for the sign.
I think that $2,000 is gonna go more into the parking in there. So maybe a couple $100 in signage. I'm just saying there's some incidental costs that are gonna be, attributed to this move. So I don't think we're gonna approach that amount, honestly, but it's more of an awareness, so.
So in order to move the FBO services from the trailer and one to the other, it's gonna be a couple grand in signs, creating some parking, and then the other part of it is just providing the fiber to it. It's also weighed against $1,750 a month,
Exactly.
so
It's almost mandatory.
kind of. Or we could just have.
I thought I made a motion a
You made
while
a
back.
motion, you started with 1,000, we've talked, it never.
Well,
never
okay, now
took
they're,
off the
all right,
ground,
well,
and now
I would
they're
move that
talking.
we authorize 3,000, not to exceed 3,000, is that what you wanna say?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Andy. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. Let's get that thing moved. Now, Mike, financial statements.
Okay, this is July 31st. We didn't quite finish up with the August yet, we still got the invoices to post, et cetera. Ended up $1.4 million in cash. Don't panic over the checking, C&D negative. That was just a date error when we were writing checks. The other thing on the receivables, just want to say the ID inducement, I do believe we're going to close on Country Max here in the near future. So that'll take out $71,000 of that. 61 is already in the revenue, and the other 10 will go down into, is down in our escrow accounting for labor monitoring. Rest are just the same fixed numbers, total assets $2.5 million. Accounts payable, we've only got the 1,500. Escrow monitoring those are, again, that's what we used, their projects actually pay for their own monitoring. We just handle the money for them. And that's 28,000 that we have here, 10 of which is not yet collected. That is from Country Max. Net assets of $2.2 million. And net income so far this year of $319. So, looking at income, just overall, we're doing very, very well with, budget. Pretty much nailed it. Our revenue's a little bit more than budget. It looks like it'll probably stay that way to the end of the year. So, okay, budget-wise, we'll have pretty good. Expenses are right in line, so we're doing well. Pretty much in control. Airport. Oops, sorry. 21,000 in the bank. Let's see what we got here. So, got some receivables. The current receivables of a total of 31,000. Those are all grants. Little grants that you got. You want me to slow up there? No.
You're doing good.
All right. Current assets, $53,000. I really condensed the fixed assets since we're kind of on an off quarter. These are the total infrastructure assets and the depreciation according to it. Giving us a net fixed assets of $14 million. 187, again, as a reminder, we do depreciate only once a year. That's at the end of the year. It usually runs around a little over $500,000 that we depreciate on an annual basis. And the bottom two are just, the AWAS is being amortized over a 10-year license, and the airport lease is just something, it's a Gatsby thing that we have to keep on the books, or it'll change at the end of the year. So, accounts payable for the airport is $2,467. Due to agency is the 986. That's the liability side of our due froms. Deferred inflows, that's from the assets. That's that 86,000 again. Total assets, net of depreciation, $13 million. Net income so far, minus 274. That balances out our liabilities and equity. Income statement. Kind of the same thing. We're doing pretty well in terms of budgets. Legal's a little bit above, but otherwise everything's right online. The FBO services, if you recall, that's that extra 10 was from one more. It was one more month we had to run with our previous FBO. So we have a budgeted loss at this point of 258. We're at 264, so we're pretty close. Questions, concerns?
Do you have any questions?
What did you just say? We have a budgeted loss of?
Yeah, I'm looking at the ordinary income. So the bottom is not really, those aren't really losses. The reason why we did that, we made that switch a couple of years ago. Because
I'm sorry, that's okay. I now
Okay.
see, I was on the wrong line.
Oh, you're on the wrong, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we just wanted to show, like, the bottom section is, it's really, that's all income statement activity, but we just wanted to show the board what kind of money was being spent, and this is what we came up with. At the end of the year, it all gets transferred in the balance sheet as assets.
Any other questions for Mike? All right, we're down to department update, and we'll let Ryan do it as long as he promises not to be as windy as he normally is.
Cut it short.
Wait a minute, Dan has something.
Do we need to approve his,
That's just information.
Fair.
Informational. First, and unfortunately, he was unable to come tonight. Want to let everybody know that had he been here, we would have been presenting Lou with his plaque. Lou is going to be resigning from the board. And tomorrow, the board of supervisors will be voting on a resolution to appoint Mark Gronowski from F.F. Thompson. Who will be joining us next month. Lou, the scheduling is difficult, so spoke with Lou a little bit about it last month, and just he said that happy he has served, but it is challenging to make meetings, so Mark will fill in nicely in that sector, which is important for us to keep the voice from the healthcare industry. So we'll welcome him, and I'll walk into surgery with Lou later and I'll give him his plaque.
If I may say, he'll be missed.
yeah, he's a sharp guy.
Yeah, sharp guy, asked very good questions, never hesitated to ask questions. Yeah, enjoyed having him.
Yep. And on to the next one. This is going to be incredibly fast. As matter of fact, Dan and Amanda will be shocked.
Can I go in the other room?
No, this is fast.
Number
So we
four.
had 2 days worth of meetings for the Ontario County Housing Assessment. Go ahead and start scrolling, Jeff. This is what they did, how we got here. Phase 1, which you will all remember, was the employment trends, demographic trends, the market analysis, and our survey to residents. Phases 3 and 4 were future housing needs, where we found that over the next 20 years, we will have to add in county roughly 1,500 residents for us to cover the housing need of the county. A lot of that is a 22% increase in those 65 and above. So we have to address those needs, and then we came to key takeaways. Jeff is really wanting to get out of here. So this was some of their takeaways and conclusions. Obviously, you can see here that parts of the county are growing, other parts are not. That's how we end up with a 3.5% increase in one of the only 2 counties in the state, because I'm contractually obligated to say so, that are growing. The vacancy rates for multifamily and rental housing remain low. The market equilibrium, we are told, is roughly 5%. That would be a healthy market, so people could find a place to move to if they wanted to. The highest number, if I remember it correctly, and Amanda, you can correct me if I'm wrong, was about 3.5%, and that was in the Canandaigua, Farmington area, and that is the only spot that really has rentals available. Certain parts of the county have none. So we are in desperate need of places for people to live. That is the key takeaway out of all this. And with a growing aging population, we have to address our needs for seniors that live here. On to the next one. Goals, strategies, and outcomes. We have to diversify our housing choices to accommodate every stage of life. That is a nice way of saying we have to have more places for people to live, of whatever age. We have to facilitate the expansion of housing development in suitable county areas. That is the part that we have to hone in on. When we say facilitate the expansion of, that is, how can we bring developers to the county to create places for people to live? And then we have to stabilize the county's aging housing stock. We will probably be asked to get involved in that as well. There are roughly 1,500 properties countywide that used to be residences, are now uninhabitable. So we have to try to give a shot in the arm to the market now, is to try to bring those back onto the market. So that's something that we will look into as a county, as an IDA, as an EDC. We're all going to be involved in that. On to the next one, recommended strategies. Right off the bat, whammo, they are saying that we have to have some sort of centralized position, department, office. The county has to get involved to try to coordinate between all the municipalities so we can provide the housing stock that is needed for us to house people in our community. And the reason why it's important to the IDA and the EDC and the department is because what our employers are telling us is the number one hurdle they're facing for expansion or coming here is that they can't find bodies to take jobs. So, and the bodies to take jobs can't find houses to put them. We have to reduce the barriers. You can see that. I don't have to read to you. On to the next one. Goal 2 is to expand the housing development. This is where we come in again. We have to try to figure out a way to make it more enticing for developers to grow here. On to the next one. And stabilize, again, the county aging housing stock, which actually could be read 2 different ways. One, there are older houses, and we need to stock housing for our aging population. So that is a 2-hour report.
Yeah, that was the quickest I've heard it yet.
In about 3 minutes. I don't think you can get any better. This is going to be questions and discussion, obviously, if anybody wants to talk about the housing strategy. And at the end, here is the QR code, which gives a much deeper dive to the entire housing analysis that's been done by Urban Partners. This is 15, 14 months in the making. On the county's website is the full analysis. It's about 150 pages. It's a really good read if you're interested in it. Or if you don't want to watch the Buffalo Bills, I invite you to take a look at the housing study. That department.
All right. Question. Nothing?
Go for it.
I mean, I've been on the IDA for quite a while. And we used to have an awful lot of people show up looking for assistance in the, call it the tech market, whatever, Fisher's Road up in the, you know, that area. And they were talking about jobs, not necessarily huge significant jobs, but certainly more than 3 or 4 and what have you. Is this causing the lack of people coming to us for that kind of stuff?
I am not, it's above my pay grade to answer that, but I'll give it a shot. So to give you an idea, one that we all know, Liz.
PWS.
So part of what they're seeing is a lack of daycare, and they have 50 open positions, and that was October, November last year, right? So, and coming from the area, I can tell you there's not a hell of a lot of places for people to live there. And we're talking about, you have, in order to work at some of those jobs that list, you're gonna have to work pretty close, or live pretty close to get there. LSI is another one. He would love to expand, has room to expand. Got 35 open positions right now. He said, well, why would I build another building and have another 35 open positions? You know, one of the concerns that wasn't for necessarily for this board, but when, after Realty's closed, we had a major food manufacturer looking at the building, and the very first question they asked Sue and I was, where are we gonna get the people? So it is a concern. And it hasn't gone unnoticed in this part of the state that the county has taken a very hard look at the housing issue. Others are doing the same, and others are following our lead, thanks to the board of supervisors. And other neighboring counties are saying, the sky is falling, what do we do?
The old building, they will come, they apply here.
There's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of that. In this study, they do a very nice job of illustrating that once we get people to live here for a few years, they stay here. And one of the things that the board of supervisors said not all that long ago is one of the major things facing this county was where we bleed 20-year-olds. But the numbers would suggest that if we can hold on to them for a little bit, we can keep them. The only way we're going to be able to hold on to them is have a place for them to work and a place for them to live. Then we get to keep their money forever. And that's why we're really involved in this. And the county, to the credit of the board of supervisors, took this very seriously when they put this study together in the steering committee. They put the administrator's office, economic development, social services, and planning. And those are 3 departments that are going to have to be involved in the
Thank you.
Brian, is there a short answer as to why we think this has happened?
I'm sorry about that.
Short answer as to why we're not building enough housing in the county.
We asked our developers that question back in May, and they were very honest with us. They said that the only way for them to really turn a profit is to build housing towards the top 10 to 15 because of a whole slew of different reasons, and those are all outlined in the report.
Okay.
Mostly they said that there's time associated with some of the zoning constraints in all of our municipalities, and there's some infrastructure needs that there's only one place to pass those costs onto, and that's the end user. Ryan Wall is a perfect example of this. The reason why he had to get out of Sunshine Lane or whatever it was.
Village.
Thank you. Was the engineering, the civil engineering costs were immense in the town of Geneva. He had to provide the roads, he had to provide the sidewalks, he had to put the street lights in, he had to put the water and the sewer in there. And it literally broke a company that was doing something that we desperately need. Luckily, he was able to find Home Leasing to step in and help make him whole and continue to carry the torch. But there are some challenges for every one of our municipalities to try to overcome this.
So the assumption would be that something changed relative to those infrastructure costs in the last 5 years or something.
I think it's been a long time coming. The county is made up of, if you look at our infrastructure, it's made up of a lot of aging municipal infrastructure things that are kind of loosely tied together when you're looking at water and sewer. And there's only so long that you can expect to build out on that skeleton. I think we're there. We have to, we have to point developers in the right direction. When they come and ask for us for incentives, we have to show them that if you go this direction, the infrastructure costs will be less because we've got to run it that way. I think the town of Canandaigua does a great job of this. They're pointing all of their development uptown because all of their infrastructure is pointed uptown. So, and that's housing, that's all of their development is headed that direction.
I think for a while too, the developers were more willing to eat some of those costs because they had such a hefty profit margin in Sodom to begin with. And now the last handful of years, they're paying so much more money in labor just to keep people and the material costs. I think they're not as the bottom line's gotten so thin. Projects that otherwise would have made sense just aren't worth doing anymore.
Okay.
Perfect storm.
Imperfect, yeah.
And family housing has to do with retiree people not moving out.
Right.
Well, the one thing I've learned on a personal level about all this is do not sell your house until you have a place to move to.
Yeah.
Do not sell your house until you're ready to go.
The last 2 days, we had 4 meetings throughout the county. A little over 80 people attended. Between the 4 of them, it was great. A lot of good discussion. There's a lot of interest. We had over 1,000 people fill out the survey, 80 people come to a meeting on a Monday and Tuesday morning. We had full rooms back in May when we had those meetings. I mean, there is a lot of interest here because there's a desperate.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ryan? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Just want to make one comment. We got that time of season, budget. Yep, get the budget posted up on Paris on the November 1st. Okay. So we'll be getting a committee together to review it and go through it like we do every year.
One other, our next meeting is 2 weeks, week and a half. We're pretty light right now on agenda. I think we.
Well, we're gonna need to look at these 2 solar projects again.
Yeah, if we can turn that around, but I would like to try to do that airport tour that night if we can. So we'll send that out as soon as we can lock it down, but we should do it before it snows. And that could be, literally,
Did you say snow?
it's coming. There's no way to stop it.
Just so before we adjourn, I won't be here if we do have the meeting, because I have to be, well, actually, I'm taking that cruise, but
Have to be on.
just so everybody understands, earlier tonight, when I was talking, the reason why I was questioning it is the stuff that he was talking about, the municipal work, the landscaping and all that stuff, that represents about 15% of what goes on.
That's no big
It was
deal.
nothing. He left out the electrical portion, the racking portion, the foundations. Those are all,
He wasn't prepared.
That's 85% of the project.
I don't think he was prepared.
And we've
Well, to be honest,
talked
I
to him
think they
several times
self-perform.
about,
Yeah, I think they self-perform, and they want to bring their own people in to do it. That's more what you're gonna find out. A lot of these municipal solars that are smaller, they move from place to place to bring their own crews.
and they have 6 projects in New York now and are building about 6 other ones.
So that was my point, is that that's the only benefit we get out of it.
We're learning, we were talking about windmills in Naples, South Bristol area or whatever. We're learning that, home rule might be thrown right out the window for projects like that, which is very alarming.
I watched the Naples town meeting on that.
Well,
I said I don't have a life, my wife sits up there.
yeah, I know,
Well,
but,
I still don't.
but to me, that's more alarming than the windmills, is that the state is taking some of our home rule rights away from us. Yeah, and they're using, the windmill project delivering power to the grid is a bigger requirement than home rule.
Are we adjourned?
Yeah, wait for that
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I want to talk some more.
I want to talk too, but I
All in favor?
wasn't sure